Aliens, ghosts, the supernatural, conspiracies. A cup of coffee? Welcome to Caffeinated Conspiracies. I'm your host, Glenn.
And I'm your host, Omer. We look at the eye-opening, the crazy, the unexplained. Do we give you answers?
No. But do we shed some light on the weird and wonderful?
Also, no. But we do look at different theories, plausible solutions, and even come up with our own.
We aren't experts, ufologists, or scientists, but we are open-minded individuals and have an interest in the unknown.
So put us in your pocket, grab a coffee, and let's dive into this week's episode.
Summer 1947. At the dawn of the Cold War, the US Army send out a press release that shocks all four corners of the world. Recovered flying disc from a ranch near Roswell. So yes, welcome to this week's episode. This is technically the second recording of this one. It was originally meant to be episode 2. Whether you're listening to it in sequence, I don't know. Depends on whether we've decided to put it there. But this week we are looking at Roswell. I just need to make you aware, we are looking just at Roswell and sort of
the Roswell incident, to be specific.
Yeah, the Roswell incident, not the TV show. And we may touch a little slightly on Area 51, but that is going to be saved for a future episode, probably in another season. But I can tell you now, it's not going to be in this episode today. So if you're looking for Area 51, come back when we do the episode. If not, stick around. We're hoping you're sticking around. We hope you're enjoying the show. We're hoping that you're liking and you're commenting.
You say looking for Area 51 as if people don't know where it is.
I know, yeah. It's meant to be a top secret base, and I mean, we're not getting into it. That's the whole point. We're not getting into it this week. See, you've already put me onto the trap. You've already put me in the trap of talking about Area 51, which is what I'm trying to avoid. So we're going to look at the Roswell incident, and I mean, we laugh, we joke. I mean, UFOs. Let's go for it. Omer, man, I ask you every week, where did your research take you? I'm glad I don't remember anything from the original recording of this that didn't work. It's all like a complete blur. There's one bit I do remember, and I can't wait for you to mention it later on. And I know the folks that are listening are going to really enjoy it because it is a really good theory. And it has spawned an idea for an episode in the next season. But, oh man, where did your research take you? What did you find in regards to Roswell?
Everyone finds the same thing when you look at Roswell. The incident, the crash, the speculation around it. There's 200 people from the town who all remember the sequence of events too clearly to be not rehearsed. Because, when you tell a story, you tell the story again, it changes. So the story should sound different from person to person, but the Roswell incident sounds too similar from everyone, where it could be real or it could be rehearsed. And everything around it just throws you into another hole of were they high? Do they remember what happened? It changes so much, and the government has been the best one of this one because they've done so much switching on their ideas.
Oh, mate.
If everything was, as they say, believable, it was just the crash of a weather balloon. They have given so many changed statements that nothing sounds believable anymore.
To be fair, mate, this is the first biggest cover-up of all time. And it still to this day is the biggest cover-up and the biggest mystery of all. I mean, just looking at it, I've had a fascination with the Roswell incident for quite some time. And from us making the show and from you guys listening to us, and hopefully you are enjoying the show, I am a big believer in extraterrestrial life. I do believe there is something out there. It is ignorant for us to believe that we are the only intelligent species in the galaxy, in any galaxy. We can't be alone. Now, with this, let's get into it. Let's just... So, going off here, I've got 1947, rancher Mac Brazel finds wreckage on his property. It's approximately 75 miles. I could be wrong, it could be kilometres. The metric system and the way that everyone measures things is a bit all over the show for my liking. So it's 75 miles from Roswell. bearing in mind, though, when this happened, like I said at the start in the introduction, is we're at the height of the Cold War. We don't know if what we're seeing in the sky is missiles, is it planes, is it bombs, is it a UFO? You know, that's the thing. And the newspapers were littered with UFO stories that people have seen them. This was probably the most iconic one that stood out to a lot of people and has driven conspiracy theorists wild from pretty much the early 90s, maybe even earlier than that, because when it started, I mean, it's 1947. Let's put it that way. Let's start there, 1947. So, Omer, at the start of it all, where did your research take you from in 1947?
Oh, the first thing was like just the weather balloon. It was a weather
Yeah.
balloon, and my favorite part of it has just been like I feel like all of it is just focused on that one army intelligence major who went to look at it. So dude finds it, right? And then army intelligence officer comes in, he looks at it, releases a statement that years later he says, "Oh, I wrote down what I thought they wanted to hear." Then changes what he says but doesn't write it in any official documents, and then flips back and then flips again.
So you're
What's
talking
his name?
about Jesse Marcel,
That's our
the
friend.
an intelligence officer who oversaw the RAAF, which is the RAAF is the Roswell Airfield Army. Just put that out there. Sorry, Roswell Army Airfield. Do apologise, I read that the wrong way around. It's been a long day, folks. It's been a long week. We're recording on a Friday night. We usually record on a Monday, so we're bright and fresh, ready for the week, and it's been a long week. So I've got here that Brazel found this debris in his field, basically. And
Just to stop that, yeah, Brazel does like Mark Brazel. That doesn't sound like a made up name. That sounds like a video game character. Hey, you've got to now save the world with gruff Mark Brazel the farmer.
I wouldn't mind though, right? So I was looking at some TikTok videos, and do you know, like it's got the automated voice that you type it in and it reads it out?
Yeah.
It put Mac Brazil. He's not Mac Brazil. So Mac Brazel found this debris on his field, basically. Brazel gathered all the parts, what he found in his debris, and he took it into Roswell, spoke to a couple of guys in a few local pubs, but it also took it to Sheriff George Wilcox of Roswell. This brought it to the attention of Colonel William Blanchard, who was the commanding officer at the Roswell Air Base. From that point, that's when the next day, after they've gone up, they've seen the debris, they've looked over it. And there's some very famous pictures of them looking at the debris and holding it up in someone's kitchen, and how the light changed on it and things like that. We will post a picture on our socials, so make sure you are checking those out. The link for our socials is in our description as well, so you can see them on there. But they released a statement. The many rumors regarding the flying discs become reality. That was the headline, and there was a full press release statement on there. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find the full press release, and if I do find it, I will put it on our socials for you to read, so you can see that. I wish I had it here to read out for you, but unfortunately, getting hold of the actual press releases has been quite difficult when we only
The
have
newspaper clippings easy
yeah,
to find.
the paper clippings easy to find, but getting the full press release statement.
Yeah.
There are documentaries out there that have found it and do have that information at hand, but obviously because we are only a small independent podcast, we don't have the rights to actually start reading all that out and taking it from the documentaries. So I do apologise. But we got here. So according to the statement, as you said before, Major Jesse Marcel, an intelligence officer, oversaw the RAAF's investigation of the crash site. Now, this is where we've got there's different research, there's different information on the internet, and I suppose now it is quite hard to find that definitive information because a lot of the people that were there, if not all, have now sadly passed on. It was 1947. I mean, there may have been
Still a few of them.
not many, but I suppose now it's harder to get concise information when it's been that long since it happened. In regards to the debris then that they found, Omer, has your research taken you anywhere with that?
The debris is quite intriguing because no one, or I couldn't find a statement from the locals, like, McBrezel. McBriddle? Mark Brazel. Because the local statements just say they found unknown materials.
Yeah.
They don't describe the material.
No.
They just unknown material. But obviously, the material's not insanely heavy for Brazel to just pick it up alone, put it in his van, take it home. Right? And Marcel's initial findings of it in his statement said it was just, weather balloon material. So thin, like tinfoil stuff, some rigid poles to keep it all together. Nothing major. But then he's the odd one. He's the one that confuses the shit out of me. Because his statement changes and he was like, yeah, it was an odd material that I wasn't allowed to tell you because it was thin as tinfoil but tougher than titanium. I hit it with a sledgehammer and it wouldn't bend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if a sledgehammer doesn't even cause a dint in it, how the fuck did something like that crash?
Exactly. Now that's the bit where we're going to go into now is...
Or what speed would you have to be going to cause damage to a material like that?
So that's the bit, is the first report that came out was the fact that they said, we've got a flying saucer. Then the next day, they changed it and said, oh, no, we were wrong. It was a weather balloon. Surely, right? And we all know this. We check our findings and we check our work before we publish anything. We do it with the podcast. We edit it. We make sure it's right. We make sure there's no coughs, no sneezes, none of the longs, and ahs. We cut all that out and we make sure it's right before we put it out there. Surely, in the army and the air base, that there's some attention to detail where someone's going to go, let's make sure that we're putting out the correct story before we say we found a flying saucer. Because no doubt you publish that. I know it's 1947 and I know we don't have internet. They didn't have we could send communications. We had ways of just picking up a telephone and going, boss, we found this wreckage. We need to put a press release out. What are we going to say? What does it look like? Mate, it looks a bit like a bit of tinfoil. Right, just say it's a weather balloon. They could have said that at the start. And this probably wouldn't have caused any of this. And we could be talking about the incident in Omaha. Something completely out of the way, because Roswell would have never been an incident. What baffles me is the fact that day one, they put out, we found a flying saucer. The next day, it was retracted, and it was a weather balloon.
No. So the initial report went to a high-ranking official's desk. They were like, we need to release a statement now before stupid things get out. He sat there drinking his cup of tea on his saucer, sipping the tea, and he's like, oh, just say it's a saucer.
No offense to our American friends, but they don't really drink tea. I mean, they made a very good point of it by throwing it in the sea.
I mean, that's because we taxed it. They tax it themselves. They're fine with it.
Fair enough. So,
I'm assuming there's enough Americans that drink tea, and probably some higher up officials in the army probably do. Yeah. Just for a sense of normalcy.
Well, I mean, going more into it, let's say, we jump ahead. Okay, so with the report that it was a saucer, then the next day changed into a weather balloon, this kicked up some skeptics and probably started the biggest ufologist movement of all time. And this is probably what started all this. I mean, and as I say at the start of every episode, we are not ufologists. We're just some people that are...
I can't even say the word.
That's what you were glad I said it in the opening intro. He begged me to say it and not him, because he can't say the word.
Not even going to attempt.
But for decades, many UFO researchers were skeptical about this. And in 1994, which was 47 years later, the US Air Force pulled that story and retracted it and said it wasn't a weather balloon. The weather balloon story was bogus. Apparently, It was part of a spy device called Project Mogul. So I mean, what was it? They just thought, you know what, right? Everything's died down on the Roswell site. Let's spark speculation again. Let's change the story. And I mean, people must have been thinking, mate, that was 47 years ago. A lot has happened in 47 years. We don't care. Yeah, from 1940.
It was 47, yeah.
Yeah, from
1940.
yeah. So, I mean, why would you be like, okay, why have you changed your story now? I wouldn't mind though, but the people that have probably changed the story weren't even people that were in the army well, maybe they weren't, maybe they were, maybe they weren't, in 1947 when it happened. So they changed it and said it was Project Mogul. Now, I've done a little bit of research into Project Mogul. What it was a system that they used, like a weather balloon type, to send a listening device up to basically listen for nuclear detonation. Now, I understand that you wouldn't want to put that in the news at the time, basically at the start of the Cold War.
I mean, I don't think there's any good time to say we're testing for nuclear detonations.
Yeah. I mean, this wasn't long
Even
after...
today, if somebody said, hey, we're just testing for nuclear detonations near your town, don't worry, you would be worried.
I mean, let's put it this way. I mean, as we all are very much aware at the moment, one of the biggest films of the year is about to release. At the time of recording, anyway, when this episode comes out, it's probably already out. Oppenheimer, which was obviously... They dropped the biggest bomb of all time, basically. And that wasn't that long before all this. I mean... I know we were worried about other people having nuclear bombs and things like that, but I don't know, it all seems a little bit too coincidental for me. That they've changed the story 47 years later. I don't know if they were trying to drum up some sort of speculation again, or if now it was like, well, you know what, that's now declassified, we can put it out there. Maybe it was a way to stop ufologists basically snooping around or questioning things. I don't know. But this thing was designed to fly over the USSR to detect sound waves from testings of atom bombs and nuclear bombs. They claim that the report was bogus and a false explanation had to be put forward to prevent giving away details. Which, obviously, we understand that. But you didn't have to make a big song and dance about it. You could have just released the documents for people to see.
No. There was the big issue because, what was it? Project Mogul that was doing the testing.
Yeah.
Didn't start till 1950.
Yeah.
Or somewhere near 1950. For some reason, don't have that in front of me right now. But they were saying that the crash in Roswell in 1947 was a Mogul balloon. You're like, what?
Yeah.
So not only did they release something like out of nowhere without any sort of anyone asking for it, they were happy with sort of the previous answer they were given. They've now released a statement that makes no sense because it doesn't fit the timeline they've already set.
Exactly. But this is what confuses me now, because as this story's come out, some people have said, what happened to the alien bodies? Now, have we mentioned alien bodies yet? Because they weren't mentioned originally. When you go back to the original crash, they weren't mentioned, but people started to report that they saw alien bodies, which obviously the army then turned around and said they were crash test dummies. Crash test dummies
was still
from what?
That was still 3 years after the change to nuclear testing. It was 1997 that they said,
yeah,
there were bodies, they were just test dummies.
But what were the test dummies for? If this was a listening device, if it was a crashed weather balloon, I'm sorry, but do they send people up in weather balloons? I mean, I've seen a weather balloon before, and I didn't see any people on it. I mean, I've not seen anything from Project Mogul. I've not seen a sound listening device on a spy satellite fly over with people on board. So, where's this story come from that they found bodies?
Somebody let the bodies hit the floor.
I see what you did there.
Although what's weird is only after 1997, after this weird announcement of... Because somebody must have said there was bodies, and then they had to release a statement saying, "Oh yeah, the bodies were test dummies."
Mhm.
But nowhere in the original statements, but prior to this, say anything about bodies.
No.
But then I found, and I couldn't find any factual evidence for it or any sort of like inciting. But apparently, the test dummies individually weigh 250 pounds, so they're quite heavy for a test dummy. And secondly, they had to take them off site in ambulances because of how heavy. They needed to use stretchers to put them on
Yeah.
and take them off in ambulances. Now, it's a test dummy. Couldn't you just throw it in the back of a pickup truck?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
It's like, why would you have to say that's how we disposed of bodies that didn't exist?
Exactly. I mean, let's put that to one side for a minute and let's jump back to 1978. So we're a bit of a different time period here.
Time traveling.
We are time traveling. Well, it's funny you should say that because information had been tipped off to a nuclear physicist, Stanton Friedman. He was tipped off by a retired military man about an interesting turn of events. Want to have a guess who that man was?
My favourite friend.
It was Jesse Marcel. It was Jesse Marcel. In it, he claimed that Marcel had told Friedman the weather balloon had been a cover-up, and all the images that we have seen, that we are like I say, are on our socials, that you can go and see, were staged. He claimed that everyone involved in the retrieval of the material had been made clear of the object, and had basically been told that this was an extraterrestrial spaceship. Now, Friedman was a bit sceptical and sort of wanted to do some more research. Bearing in mind, a lot of the people at the time, from 1947 to 1978, probably retired. So he did more investigation. He found a lot of retired army personnel. And this is where you said that some things sound a little bit too rehearsed. He found that parts of the story were collaborated, with more stories added as well. So it's like they added a little bit extra. Skeptics argued that these people were telling researchers what they wanted to hear just to secure their place in history books. They wanted like their 15-minute of fame, basically. I mean, with that, because I didn't get to read too much into it, and I couldn't find much of the interviews and what was discussed, but they all sort of agreed with what was being said and all said pretty much the same thing. Like you said, mate, it sounded like it could either be rehearsed or it is so fresh in their mind that it just sort of it sticks there because they've seen something and they're telling someone it. And I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's that. So it sits on that line between these two things of, you know, me and you were somewhere where a lot of people were. We saw the same thing, so we say the same thing.
Yeah.
And if you came to me and told me this crazy thing happened, like, I don't know, a ball of light fell from the sky, almost touched the floor, then went straight back up, right? Yeah. You tell it me, I think you're insane. Yeah. Next person tells me the exact same thing but hasn't spoken to you, I'm thinking, maybe there's truth in it, but it still sounds insane. But when you get more people saying the exact same thing who could have positively, like, you know, rehearse the story, it sounds real.
Yeah.
But it's on that fine line of everyone saying it exactly the same way, that it's like, is it rehearsed?
Exactly. That's the thing. And I mean, before we do go into a little bit more, we are just going to take a very quick break.
And welcome back from your own research of figuring out what happened to the alien bodies that didn't exist. Well, that's me making it too early, isn't it?
No, man. We sort of left them on that. I like that you brought it back with that. We hope you did your research. We hope you want to, after you've listened to the show, you think, I want to know more. So yeah, before the break, we were talking about the skeptics and them saying that the information that was given was basically very much rehearsed and people just wanted their 15 minutes of fame. I mean, I've just got a little more here before we start going into our theories. So, jumping ahead, you know, fact and fiction becomes blurred with this. UFOlogists have explored it more, but at the same time, eyewitnesses had begun to pass away. So, like I say, now we are just getting passed down stories from people that did see it, who are telling the next generation of people, who will tell the next generation of people. I mean, it was 1947, with in 2023 now. I mean, there's been a big chunk of time where some of these stories are going to get a bit blurred. And it was claimed that this is one here as well. It's claimed the crash site was taken to Area 51. As we said, we're not going to go too much into this. And apparently there was, just because I want to just touch ever so slightly on it, that there was apparently found footage in 1995 of an alien autopsy that was leaked. Now, we do need to say this has been debunked and has been said it was fake.
Oh, no. No,
But there's still speculation in it.
Wait, I got more on the alien autopsy movie.
Okay.
This wasn't even in our original recording. So,
Oh, he's done extra research. I love this.
the alien autopsy...
Honestly, mate, it's nice to see you getting into this now. I think you're more into this as we've gone on throughout the episodes. That, I mean, on episode 1, you're like, yeah, I've done a little bit of research. This is technically was meant to be episode 2. We're recording it as episode 5, and you've like, I've done extra research that I didn't do originally.
Yeah. So this I looked into, and the guy who gave the alien autopsy to the media
Yeah.
came out and said, "Oh, the film I gave you was faked. But it wasn't faked in the sense that you believe it is. It's the original footage that I got given was so damaged and degraded that it was barely, I couldn't re-record it. If I'd have made extra copies, it'd just have been dust. So what I had to do is hire actors and directors to recut it shot for shot. This is why you see no timestamps, why you see no sort of battery like you would with a camcorder, and there's some smooth cuts and then blurring in the original video that perfectly hide like certain parts of the alien that you would have easily been able to tell prosthetic.
Yeah.
Right? It got better. Because not only did he say this, but he goes, yeah, and after it, because we had to remove all evidence of the recording itself, we chopped up the dummy bodies, put them in bin bags, and put them in different bins around London. And I was like, that in itself should have been the whole story. Like, alien body parts found around London.
This is starting to sound like a Doctor Who episode here now. I'm loving it. I am absolutely loving it.
I was just... I don't know how I fell onto that one, but it was funny as hell. And I was like, how is that not the thing that everyone's talking about?
I wouldn't mind though, right? So it got debunked and said it was, obviously, as you said, it was made. But there's people that still believe that there is a video of the alien autopsy. As you said there, the guy said he had an original copy of it. It was too degraded. Couldn't make copies, so he couldn't exactly release it to the press in that format because he'd lose his copy of it. Which I understand. Don't get me wrong, I understand. We know a copy of a copy is always going to be worse. But, I don't know. I think we might go more into that when we get to Area 51, an episode on that. Because I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot more, and we can refer back to our Roswell episode. Now, before we do get into our theories, Omer, have you got anything else that sort of jumps out at you? Because, like I say, we literally are just skimming the surface on this one, folks. Just for the fact that, like I say, we're not experts. We don't have the time to do these deep dives into information. We get what we can get. We want to put it out there for you. We want to keep it fun and interesting and don't want to rehash what's already probably been told to you, what you've already listened to on other podcasts, what you've seen on TikTok, what you've seen in documentaries narrated by Morgan Freeman or Lawrence Fishburne. You know, we're not doing that. We're trying to give you the information that is at your disposal, but in a fun way where me and Omer can have a laugh and a joke and bring you along for the ride.
Yeah. And we can't get Jonathan Franks to host ours either.
Exactly. We've tried. We have tried.
I know. I think there's a lot of, like, because of all the strangeness of, like, the 3 changes in the story from the government, the fake movie that came out, well, the fake doc that came out in 1995, the bodies that showed up out of nowhere, and then Marcel, I swear, Marcel has been my favourite bit of all of it. Because he changes his mind so often. I swear he's taking payments from different people and just putting them against each other. He sits there like, I'll tell the story of whoever pays me the most. And I only found out uh, in more research that he was known for making up stories before he was sent to Roswell.
Right.
He
Okay.
got in trouble for making it like, and it wasn't like he was doing this on official documents. It was like, in the break room, like with a bunch of other military people or in a bar, he would tell them that he was doing amazing stuff that just wasn't happening.
Right. Okay. So
So
he,
he,
he
so, so
was
he
he
was
was kind of
already
known for it.
he was known for making up stories. Now he has his opportunity to make up a bigger story, but he doesn't make up the story until after he released the official story, and like I'm sure his statement changes like 3 times. And it's either he doesn't know what he's talking about, so he's an idiot, or only one of his many stories are right. And the only one you can really take for proof is the first one. Because that's the one where he's got oversight. And the first one says, oh, it's known material from, weather balloon. And you would be using similar weather balloon material as you
Yeah.
would be doing on sort of the nuclear test balloons. So,
Yeah.
like, the balloon typage would be the same, but just it's looking for two different things.
Exactly. I mean, this is where we get to our theories now. And I mean, let's just go through the official theories that have been put out there. So, as you said, weather balloon. Omer, do you believe it was a weather balloon?
I mean, given everything that's been said about it, if I ignore the witness testimonies and Marcel's second statement and any statement after that, then I could believe it's a weather balloon. Although I'm against the weather balloon idea simply because that why would you have to change the story so many times for just a weather balloon?
Yeah.
If they hadn't changed their stories and if there hadn't been multiple like statements about the one-off weather balloon, it would have been believable.
The one with that is, I was watching a documentary on it, and people were saying that these were residents of Roswell go, we know what a weather balloon looks like. We live in an area where weather balloons are launched on a daily basis. That material did not look like it was from any normal weather balloon we've seen come out of Roswell. So, I mean, I can only speculate from what that documentary said, and obviously that's, again, as we said from our research and our notes, that this could just be people just trying to grab their 15 minutes of fame, secure their place in the history books, as to say, yeah, I saw it, I was there, I know exactly what happened. When they don't, they've just taken on whatever, what was there. So I don't know. Again, there's the skeptical side of me, and there's the side that does believe. So let's look at the other theory. Aliens really did crash at Roswell.
I mean, aliens crashing all stems from the first statement. The
Yeah.
flying saucer or disc. Why did they say it? I'm sure they said disc.
Flying disc.
Yeah. Oh no, it was the press release, like the newspaper clipping does say flying saucer. RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region.
There you go.
But that it stems from that, and then there's no alien mention in any official statements except witness accounts that say like there were lights that were moving in ways they couldn't have, like not for the technology of the time.
Yeah. So there was lots of reports as well from other people that, like you say, other statements from people within the Roswell area that said that that night there was a massive thunderstorm.
Yeah.
And then there was like a massive bang in the sky. Now, at the time of recording, here in the UK, we have just been hit with a couple of thunderstorms. I think I said it on the very first episode. At the time of recording, there was a thunderstorm. It was biblical rain, and it has been for quite some time. Now, we heard a massive pop out at the back of our house not long ago, and what had happened is we'd had a thunder and lightning, and it had basically caught one of the cables above us and sent someone's power completely clean off. So a loud bang like that is understandable. Now, obviously, what these statements were saying is that there was an almighty crash with this thunder, and then they heard an explosion. I don't know. Could it have been that there was a saucer? It got a little bit too close to us, got caught in a thunderstorm, as you were saying. What the hell did it, what hit it? If it's obviously crashed and it's gone off like that, could it have been that it's been hit by thunder and it's?
If you take Marcel's second statement, where
Yeah.
he goes, the material was insanely strong but thin as tin foil,
Yeah.
and he hit it with a sledgehammer and it didn't move. Yeah, maybe if it got hit by lightning and it got weakened and then hit the ground, it bent, tore, and dismantled. But you'd still have to be hitting it with some. If it was like, let's say it was just floating above, got hit by lightning, crashed from say 2,000 feet, right? That doesn't feel like enough force to damage a material like the one he described.
Well, we've
I
seen
might be wrong, and if anyone's a mathematician, please work out that math for me.
we've seen a lightning bolt send Marty McFly back in time. So, I mean, could it be that this was?
There was a lot of planning behind that, and we all know how well DeLoreans can travel through times. He was given all the best material.
We do. Sorry, folks. If you were expecting like a serious podcast, you've come to the wrong place. You've got two nerds who love games and movies and weird conspiracies.
Okay, but the alien theory, my favorite one that I came across that matches that was the alien family.
Okay.
It felt like somebody dreamt up the story, and I think it's brilliant that an alien family had just been doing a tour of, like safari.
Yeah.
Going to the zoo, keep the family in the car. You're going on a long trip. They come past Earth. They have cloaking tech, so it's fine. They can just hover over, see the animals walking around in their little villages. So they come to Earth, get hit by lightning, crash.
Yeah.
This is why you shouldn't go too close to the enclosures.
I mean, it's a good theory. Like I say, I don't know what I believe, but it is definitely sort of like the more predominant theory for a lot of people out there that do believe that it was aliens. Now, there are a few other theories out there as well. Was you going to say one there, Omar?
No, I was just thinking, I've still got the alien family in my head, and I was like, if that is an alien family, then that material is probably from, like, the alien version of a Winnebago. Which means, what does an alien Lamborghini look like? Is it totally, like... Is it like Wonder Woman's invisible jet? Like, invisible, but can move insanely fast?
I'd like to see that. Another one that has very little merit to it, but it sort of stood out to me because with everything that's been said in regards to being the start of the Cold War, was the fact that it was a Soviet Union spy plane. And they've covered this up by releasing the fact that it was aliens because they thought that might have been less scary than the Russians coming in, which again we've said it on many episodes, and a lot of it is stemming to sort of like the Russians and things like that. We do need to say that we are not talking about everything that's going on at the moment in Russia, because it is not our place. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about conspiracy theories and these fun little bits. So we are avoiding anything to talk with that side of things. But this was a Soviet Union spy plane. Like I said, I couldn't find much research into this. So the bit of it that I'm saying that maybe they've said it was a weather balloon or aliens to cover up it being Russian, because I think that might have been a bit more scary. No, I don't. But I wanted to put it out there because it's a theory that's there. But I wanted to just put it out there just to sort of say
it's
this
a theory
is
that there, but falls down when you say like the material was the same as weather balloons.
Yeah.
It's like, are Russians like flying over in like hot air balloons to sort of attack or spy on people?
Yeah. I mean, what theories have you seen?
They get fun, don't they? There's loads of them. Like, okay, we got the Cold War UFOs, we got the aliens, we got a town of very drunk people. Like, one of the ones that holds a bit of merit was the whole town was actually in on it, because you got to think about how much money Roswell is making right now.
That's one of my personal theories as well that I've got there. Yeah,
it's like the amount of press they've got, the tourism, like the town has made a lot of it, and a lot of the people who have recently made statements. When I say recently, from 1994 onwards, everyone that has released a statement has something to gain from the Roswell incident financially.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure like Marcel had hit some funding in some of the Roswell town, and then the guy who actually released the alien autopsy, it doesn't he like own like a museum in Roswell or something? So they all had financial gain for promoting the crazy theories to the story.
Well, this is one of the things that I've put in my theory side as well, is that the skeptical side of me does believe that the residents all got basically at a town meeting, got together and staged this. Basically, this was at the height of when the highway was in place now, and Roswell was unfortunately one of those little towns that was going to get left behind. And what better way than to sort of play on the insecurities of the people, of the nation of America, the height, the start of the Cold War and everything that was going on, and we'd had nuclear tests, everything had happened. UFOs at this time were all over the news. Why not give the people what they want? Let's say this is it. We've got a secret, secure army base down the road that no one's meant to know about, which we all know about because they come into town, they get drunk, they tell us about it. So let's play on that. Let's say there was a crashed UFO. Let's go and put some material out there. Someone staged it. Matt Brazel probably didn't even find this on his yard. He's just probably gone through his kitchen, rooted through, found a few bits, took it to someone and gone, look at this. Yeah, it's a UFO that I found. And that's where it's all stemmed from, because this town was going to get left behind with the evolution of, highways had become like the big thing, and they were bypassing these little towns. We know we've seen it happen. We're seeing it happen today now. A lot of like little cities and things like that, they're losing their shops, they're losing the income and things like that. And I think that's what was happening here. And they thought the only way we're going to survive is if we need to be put on the map and make a big point of being here. What can we do? And because UFOs and aliens were all the talk, they've jumped on that. I mean, if it was unicorns that were the big talk at the time, maybe they found a unicorn. The only unicorn lived in Roswell, and that's what they would have gone for.
No, the only unicorn lives in Scotland. What are you talking about?
You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. So that's my skeptical side. And that is one thing I've believed for a very long time. Before I even read that theory, that was one that I come up with myself, that I think that maybe that could have happened. The likelihood of it, I don't know. Because part of me is a believer. I mean, have you got any more that sort of jump out to you?
I mean, all the other ones were like similar, just sort of, Nazi, Soviet. My favourite one is the Nazi one.
Yeah, do it.
The Nazi one was the best thing ever, because I found it, I was skeptical the minute I read it, and then the first thing you see if you Google Nazi UFO is a flying saucer built by the Nazis. And this was like you're talking post-war, like we're not far. It's 1947. The war's been over 2 years? So
Thereabouts.
Give or take.
Yeah.
So, and during the war, Adolf Hitler had like commissioned lots of insane, and we're still finding things that he'd like commissioned.
Yeah.
And he had a big thing with the occult as well, which is a thing we should do at another episode.
We will be doing. I mean, we are going to be looking at Atlantis later in this series, and there's a big Nazi thing with Atlantis and finding the Aryan race, which we'll go into in a lot more detail when we get to that one, which I can't wait for.
But like, yeah, with the Nazis, they were into a lot of stuff, and apparently they did a lot of, well, flying saucers. You can't call them UFOs when you know what they are, because they're not unidentified anymore. They're just flying objects. But yeah, Nazi UFOs, and that is what crashed. So somebody had found one. Obviously, not all parts of the Third Reich had fully been abolished at the end of the war. There were still like factions out there. So they've gone and picked one up, like taken it over Roswell. Thunderstorm hit them. And obviously the American government, and especially the army base at the time, don't want to say, right after the war, beginning of the early Cold War, that, we found a Nazi flying saucer.
The Nazis are back. I mean, I suppose it would spark more fear than it being extraterrestrial. That theory, when we originally did the recording of this, and I do apologise that recording did We'll never see the light of day because it never actually happened. So I do apologise. But when you told me about that Nazi UFO, the first thing I did was research it and have a look at it, and
It's insane. You just got to type in Nazi UFO
so
in
interesting.
Google, and
But we have decided that is going to be an episode in season 2, so do keep it here for that episode. And I can promise you, season 2 is not that far off. It really isn't. We're just trying to record as much as we can and get as much as we can out there for you because we want to make this interesting. We don't want to bore you. We don't want to drag things out. It's going to be a great episode because, I mean, the research I've already started. I've already started season 2 research. I've not even finished season 1 yet. I mean, that's if you guys are liking season 1. Hopefully you are. Hopefully you want us to come back and do a little more. You know, we've got loads. We've got so much that we want to talk about. But, I mean, that was one of them. And when you told me that, honestly, it just sort of sparked something in me that I had to research. But this story of Roswell is one of those that sort of sparked it. You know, wherever this ends up in the sequence of episodes, we talked about the pyramids, and that always fascinated me. And it sort of, that was one of the big things that drove me to start this show, was that. And Roswell is the big thing that sparked my interest in extraterrestrials and government cover-ups. Because let's face it,
are you still talking the incident or the show?
Everything, both.
Everything. And X-Files.
Yeah. The Roswell incident is the biggest cover-up of all time. Let's face it, you know, this is the probably the first big cover-up and the biggest. Let's face it, it really is. You know, there was a lot when the fact that the story changed so many times, it was changed 40 odd years after the original statements. And the more and more you look into it, there's still so much information out there. But at the same time, it's harder to get hold of now. And
yeah, it's easier to find Roswell debunked information than it is Roswell theories and, you know, all the other. But even in all the debunked stuff that I came across, it's like a lot of it they do a good job of. Yeah, they do a really good job of tying a lot of it together. But then, even when you tie it all together, there's too many inconsistencies to say it can be officially debunked without, you know, physical proof of what actually happened.
Exactly. I mean, my other theory is, much like you said, the family of aliens, but a bit differently. I do believe that there was something. I do believe that personally, I do believe that there was.
It was you?
It was me. It was me all along.
It was you personally?
It was me all along. You think this is my real face? No, I do believe that there was something. As I said before, it is ignorant for us to believe that we are the only species, well, intelligent species in the galaxy. I mean, I know our planet is filled with different species of humans and animals and all things like that, but we can't be alone in this galaxy. We can't. I mean, I know. Again, we're nerds, and Doc 2 said, "Oh, we've made so much noise and made this big impression on the solar system that something has to have taken notice of us." Not long before all of this, there was the atom bomb. Again, Oppenheimer. We're not sponsored by the film. I wish I was. It'd be great. I can't wait to see it. But that was probably the biggest explosion that's ever happened on Earth. Surely that's made an impact somewhere. Surely something has seen that and gone, hey up, what's going on over there? We can pick up if there's, you know, we know when there's been something happened in space, in a way. We know some things. Surely if there's another intelligent species out there, they've seen that, they've come to check what the hell's going on and make sure everything's, you know, maybe they've sent a satellite to us, they've checked it, it's shown up on their sensors, and they've sent something to investigate. You know, I could be clutching at straws, and the people probably listening to this thinking, mate, it was just a weather balloon. Get over yourself. Me, personally, like I say, I do believe that there is something out there. I don't believe we are alone, and I do believe something crashed in Roswell. I do believe that whatever it was is in Area 51, because look at how much our technology advanced from 1947 onwards. We had this massive jump, technological-wise, and I think we've just reverse engineered what we found at that crash site, which is one of the big theories that's out there as well. But that's just me. Oh man, what
Yeah,
about
it
you?
was-
Do you believe
it was
anything?
right. So I can't. This one doesn't sound alien to me. I want to say aliens, but it doesn't sound alien to me. It's like if it was aliens, then they've done a shit job of it. It's like you're an intelligent species, intelligent enough to sort of like you come visit a planet, crash. But the crash, it's the fact the body showed up in all the statements like nowhere till like 1995.
Yeah.
Like 47 to 95, no mention of bodies. So it's just a ship. So the only alien theory that hits me is alien satellite, not alien balloon or saucer, satellite. So just like we send probes like the Mars rover out, they've sent something this way. That could make sense. And it would explain some of technological advances since then. But it really, I have to go back to the belief that like Marcel is a genius and an idiot altogether because he put Roswell on the map and he's made money off it. So it's like,
Obviously, he's dead now. We know that. I know he's dead now.
I don't know, is he?
Yeah,
That's
he is.
another cover up.
Yeah, he is. He's dead. He's very much dead. I believe.
Did you see the body?
I didn't know, but I've seen a documentary that's explained that he's dead, and there's now
No.
Jesse Marcel Jr. And
How do you know he's not?
He had a son who's now Jesse Marcel Jr. and he's now Jesse Marcel Senior. Because you.
So no. Like this is the Jesse Marcel is immortal. He fakes his death, writes a new birth certificate for himself as Jesse Marcel.
He was the alien that landed. There you go. We've got our own conspiracy theory on this show.
And then, like,
to Jesse Marcel and his family,
comes...
we are sorry. It's only a joke. We're really sorry. You know,
there's no proof of this.
Yeah.
No one has even like theorized this till us. So
no,
yeah,
we are the
definitely.
only ones with it. So, I mean, we say it on majority of the episodes. Would you want to know the truth? If the truth come out, if the truth could be proven, we've got it. Would you want it, or are you happy living with the conspiracy theories and the knowledge of not knowing?
I say it more often than not. The mystery is more fun than the truth.
I think
The
this one,
mystery
yeah,
of what happened
I agree.
Always makes it.
I
more
agree
fun.
because if it comes out and it was just a ploy by the people of Roswell, I would be. I mean, don't get me wrong. Part of me would be like, I knew it, but a part of me would be really miffed as well because, like I say, it's one of those ones that's has driven that whole "we aren't alone" sort of conspiracy in my head, and I don't want to lose that.
There's a small cult in the Roswell town that I sat there like listening to this, but like they're too close to the truth. We must silence them. And then they're like, "Oh no, wait! They just admitted they're idiots. We're fine."
Yeah, exactly. But I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. I know I did, and I enjoyed it the first time round, and I've definitely enjoyed it this week as well, doing it again. What we will say is, please do like, comment, and subscribe to the show. Please do tell your friends about us, family members. If you sat next to somebody on the bus, just give them a nudge and go, "Yeah, mate, download this. It's great." You know, it helps us. We want to make a great show. We're hoping that you're having a laugh with us and actually learning something new.
If you're the creep on the bus that tells me to watch this, thank you.
You can find us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on Threads now as well. You can find us on there. We've got TikTok clips. We've got YouTube clips. We hope that you join us wherever you can and enjoying the show. And even let us know your theories or even your conspiracies that you want us to look at. We've done one this series, which has been recommended to us, which was the Dyatlov Pass incident, which is a great story and, to be fair, a great episode as well.
I feel like if you've heard this episode, then this one has a lot of similar themes to the Dyatlov Pass.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely, if you like this episode, you'll definitely like that one. Just keep listening.
Just keep listening. Just like, comment, subscribe, share us. And on Spotify, you've got that little bit where you can put stars if you like the episodes. Push the stars. Push those stars. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm out of coffee. Have we given you answers? Have we left you with more questions than you came in with?
You can let us know on all our socials. Links are in the description. But be sure to leave us a great review to please the overlords.
You can find all our episodes wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you tune in next week when we have a fresh pot of coffee, some more crazy theories. But for now, I've been Glenn.
And I've been Omer. See you next time from Caffeinated Conspiracies.